Good morning. It is, well, maybe not morning. It's morning for me. I was going to go fishing this morning. I woke up and it was in the 30s again, and I'm not all about that right now. I want it to be nice. Call me a fair weatherman, feather. Call me a fair weather fisherman, all you want. I've been out in the 30s this spring. The fish did not cooperate that much. My hands were cold. It was not as much fun as it should have been. I'd hoped to take the boat out this morning, but it's cold and windy, like it is every Saturday when I want to go fishing. So instead, I'm going to tell you about how I rig my slip bobbers. Now, the word bobber itself has a lot of different thoughts come up when someone says bobber fishing, bobber, cork, float, wherever you're at, whatever you call it. I call it a bobber. You may call it something different. But we think of those round red and white bobbers clipped onto a line with a couple feet below it, a worm and a weight, and that is bobber fishing sometimes. Millions of fish get caught every year fishing just that way, and it's how a lot of us as kids started out fishing. I'm sure, I don't remember my first fish ever. It was a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure it was probably caught on a worm and a bobber, just like that. I still fish bobbers today, though. I fish bobbers a lot. Slip bobbers, though. And the premise is still the same. And the idea is still the same. The bobbers catch a lot of fish. It's presenting live bait or some kind of bait in a precise location to a fish. And bobbers can be used to catch catfish, big catfish, all the way down to tiny little bait fish and everything in between. I fish slip bobbers a lot for panfish, a lot for crappie, walleyes, and I fish slip bobbers a lot. And frankly, I carry a slip bobber with me most of the time when I go fishing, just because if all else fails, I know that I have confidence that I can pull out at least one fish and save being skunked with a bobber. Not always the case, but oftentimes it is. So I have a rod dedicated to that. And the reason I have a rod dedicated to that is not just so I can easily grab it and carry it with me, is I don't have to re-rig all the time. Part of the problem with fishing a slip bobber is if you're using just your regular spinning tackle, you have to cut your knot. I mean, you have to rig the slip bobber up, and that takes time. Time to me is important. I don't get as much time fishing as I'd like, so I don't want to waste it rigging a line. So I have it re-rigged or pre-rigged, and so that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how I have my slip bobber rigged, and stick around. This is different. It is different than how almost everybody runs a slip bobber. I'm going to show you how I do it, and it makes it versatile. It makes it easy to go from with the same setup without having to retie anything with a couple quick clips of a couple swivels to go from fishing for jumbo catfish to maybe all the way down to catching bait for those catfish, catching suckers or chubs, bluegill, panfish, bluegill or panfish, bluegill, crappie, walleye, perch, trout, anything in between, just by changing a couple little things and not having to retie or switch bobbers or anything. So here's what I do. This is my daughter's 7 foot ugly stick. My 11-year-old daughter wanted a slip bobber rod for Christmas. She borrows mine all the time, but wanted her own. So Grandpa got her a slip bobber rod. And so I rigged this up recently, and I'm just going to kind of show you what I have going on here. And again, pay attention. There's something different. This isn't just a standard slip bobber setup. So a lot of it is, though, start with 20-pound Power Pro as a main line. You can use whatever you want. I use braid because braid is thin diameter, extra strength, and it casts well, it manages well with a slip bobber, and I know that I can run with this 20-pound main line, I can run a mono leader up to just about that, and in case I break off, I'm not having to re-rig, and I'm not losing my bobber down the river or wherever. It's not out there floating on its own. Worst case scenario, 99% of the time is my leader breaks, and all I have to do is just put a new leader on, and I'm back in business. So again, use what you want, but I use 20-pound braid, and as I said, this Power Pro. Down to, let me pull this line out here. The first thing, and this is any standard slip bobber setup, you got a bobber stop. So this is a cloth bobber stop, cheapo from Walmart probably. I don't use the rubber ones. They don't hold to power the braid as well. I use this. The cloth holds to the braid really well. Again, you want a bobber stop that's going to have tension. It's not going to just reset itself all the time, but you can slide and reset easy enough. Now this is where with every other slip bobber setup, you are, if I hooked myself, you are going to, I'm going to unhook myself here. You're going to run a slip bobber down the line. That's not how I have it set up. That's not how I run my slip bobber rigs. So I have a bobber here, but as you can see, it is hooked to a swivel, and I run it down through the eye of that swivel. So that the problem with a slip bobber, a lot of times standard rig, and now newer slip bobbers that have brass grommets on them, and this one's different. Newer slip bobbers that have brass grommets on them, the newer styles, they don't have this problem as much, but a lot of times the problem with slip bobbers is that line can get kind of hung up in there and it won't set itself to the right depth. If there's any kind of twist in your line, if you're using mono and there's any kind of twist or memory, it can keep this, especially if you're using a finesse presentation where there's not a lot of weight below the bobber, or if there's any kind of icing, if there's any kind of debris on the line. There's a lot of things that can keep this from sinking all the way down and the bobber setting at the right depth. So to eliminate that, I have just this swivel going through here. What you have to do is, if you have standard slip bobbers, you're going to have to take a little drill bit and drill a hole. I don't know if you can see that very well, but drill a hole in the end of the slip bobber. So you can, oops, I do not have my reading glasses on, so I don't know if I'll be able to do this very well. Do I have them here? Pardon me. I turned 40 and my eyesight started to go on me. I went from 20/20, actually better than 20/20 vision, to having to wear stupid readers all the time when I'm doing anything like this. My wife says I need to go see the eye doctor and get real glasses. She's right. Don't tell her that. I used to make fun of my dad when he was my age because he had to do this, and I'd tease him. Now it's me. Thanks. So anyway, as you can see, that little hole, I just clipped that swivel into that hole, and I don't have it closed all the way, but again, this freely flows. And the real versatile thing about this is now I can, if I want to switch, this is a little bigger bobber. Maybe I'm running a shiner minnow over rock pile for walleyes. A little bigger presentation, a little bigger minnow. I want a little bigger bobber. I unclip that from the swivel. It just unclips. And I can grab a smaller bobber, maybe a little pencil float for crappie or panfish. Again, that clips right on there. I didn't snap it all the way closed, but you'd snap it all the way closed. And now I've got this. I switch my leader out because I'm hooked again. After the swivel, you go down, and I have a bead here to protect this knot and to keep it from getting hung up. I have another swivel. And then below that swivel, I can just clip on a leader. This looks like probably 8-pound mono, little split shot, number 4 octopus hook. I use that a lot. That's a very versatile size. Small panfish all the way up to big fish. But I've got, you'll see in a minute, I've got a lot of potential rigs down here. So again, all I have to do is switch the bobber, switch the leader, and I can go from fishing big catfish. Again, I've got a catfish bobber here that's got a little hole rung through it, all the way to finesse panfish rigs. And if you want to cheat, you don't even have to get, again, it's a little more work. You have to take a little drill bit, just use your hand and just drill through. And I have a whole box down here full of bobbers that I've got rigged like this. So it's nice to do in the evening or in the winter. You can just grab your bobbers ready, get them ready for spring. But if you want to cheat, you can buy a bobber like this that already has the little clip on the end of it. They make a lot of different styles, a lot of different shapes of bobbers that just have the little standard clip. And I don't have to worry about drilling holes. I just got the bobber on there. And I've got some big bobbers that are this style. I've got some smaller bobbers that are this style. That makes it even easier. You don't even have to worry about drilling the hole. I'm kind of picky about my bobbers sometimes, so I have a lot of different options. And again, all I have to do is switch out that bobber. I'll take these off now. switch out my leader. I have these tubes. I use them a lot for my walleye spinner rigs, but I also use them for my slip bobber leaders. And so I have leaders pre-spooled with split shots on them, so if I break off or if I need to change, all I have to do is just unclip that swivel, I put a new leader on, and I'm back in business. This one has, you can see I've got some little ice fishing jigs pre-rigged on there for some finesse pan fishing. I've got a jig head. It's really, really versatile. I fish a lot of things. You see I've got a box here that's full of terminal tackle. It's got jig heads, it's got bobber stops, it's got split shots, hooks. I am making a mess of it right now. Extra swivels, three-way swivels, jigs, ice fishing jigs, anything I might want or need to run below a slip bobber, I've got in there, and I just throw those two boxes, a box full of bobbers, a couple of those leader tubes, and that box of terminal tackle in a little tackle bag, and it is, I have a dedicated slip bobber system ready to go. Again, swivel instead of running that through there, and it just changes that to an entirely more versatile rig. So highly recommend it. Let me know if you have any questions on how to rig it, if you've tried something like that, and just let me know how it goes. So that's it. God bless you. See you next time.